Welcome back. We're 23 days away from the midterm elections, and the opioid crisis is emerging as a major issue for voters. A recent analysis by the Wall Street Journal shows that ads mentioning the opioid crisis have aired more than 50,000 times in congressional and gubernatorial races across 25 states. Compare that to 4 years ago, when it was only mentioned 70 times. My next guest says the crisis is hitting his community very hard. He published an op-ed yesterday titled, "Drug Abuse Touches All of Us. Let's Fight It Together." With me now, Mayor of Knox County, Tennessee, and WWE superstar Glenn Jacobs, also known as Kane. Welcome back, my friend.
Hey, Kennedy, how are you?
Thoughtful words from you about this issue, and obviously health care at the forefront of a lot of voters' minds during these midterms, and the opioid crisis is a big part of that. You have two very different schools of thought when it comes to tackling it. Where do you fall in terms of, criminalization versus turning it into more of a conversation about mental and physical health?
I think it is a conversation about mental and physical health. To me, it's an economic problem. It's supply and demand. And what we've done is we've tried to constrain the supply of different types of drugs. And unfortunately, what's happened is people just switch the drug and we end up chasing the drug. And what's happening here in Knox County is people are now migrating from prescription drugs back to street drugs, such as methamphetamine, heroin, and fentanyl and carfentanil, which are extremely dangerous. Unfortunately, as long as there's a demand, there's going to be a supply. So I think that we need to start looking at the demand side and how, as a community, we can work on that.
You're absolutely right, and you bring up such a good point about that, because it has been a losing war on the supply side. But we don't talk about demand, and when you talk about that, and you talk about your family and your friends and your neighbors who have battled drug addiction, it's a very, very different kind of conversation than the one where you say, we have to lock people up and we have to kill drug dealers, and you really have to tackle what it is inside people that want to fill that hole within themselves with drugs.
That's exactly it. We can't incarcerate our way out of this problem. I mean, it's causing huge stress locally on us with our jails and our detention center. We have to look at another way of dealing with this problem. And I think that we do have to look at treatment, frankly.
All right, so Republicans really screwed it up in terms of health care. What do you think, and you are obviously more on the constitutional liberty side of the Republican Party, what do you think Republicans have to do to get that conversation back on track?
Well, again, we need to look at health care, and we need to understand that addiction is a problem that can happen to anyone at any time. And we need to treat people with compassion. I mean, of course, if someone commits a crime, they have to pay for that. But along the way, we have to have systems in place to where when they come out of jail, that they are able to enter society again and be productive people.
And the president actually spoke about that last week. It's some of the most interesting conversations coming from the White House about criminal justice and rehabilitation that I have seen. And I know where you live, you are continuing that conversation. So thanks so much for being here. Good to see you.